There is something most people do not realize about their vision. The damage does not happen during the day. It does not happen when you are squinting at a menu, or straining to read a text message, or gripping the steering wheel at night because the oncoming headlights have become impossible to manage. The damage, the quiet, cellular, incremental destruction of the tissue that allows you to see, happens while you are asleep, while your body is supposed to be repairing itself, while you have no awareness of it whatsoever. And by the time you notice that something has changed, by the time the blurriness in the morning takes longer to clear, by the time you realize you have been sitting closer to the television than you used to, by the time a grandchild's face at a distance becomes something you approximate rather than see clearly, the process has already been underway for months, sometimes years. My name is Dr. James Harlow. I have spent over 25 years in internal medicine with a specific clinical focus on the intersection of nutrition and aging. And what I want to tell you today is something I wish were explained more clearly and more consistently to every adult over 60 who sits down with an eye doctor and hears the words, "This is just age-related change." Sometimes that is true, but often it is incomplete. Because the research now clearly shows that the retinal cells responsible for your sharp central vision, your color perception, your ability to adapt from light to dark, these cells are not passive victims of aging. They are living tissue. They respond to what you feed them, and they do their most critical repair work in one specific window: the hours you spend asleep. I'm going to walk you through 7 specific fruits. Make sure you stay for number 1, because it fights a process called glycation that is likely already clouding your lenses right now, damaging your retina silently every single night. And the fruit that addresses it might already be sitting on your kitchen counter. Before we begin, one thing I want to be clear about. Nothing in this video replaces professional eye care. If you are experiencing vision changes, please have them evaluated by a qualified ophthalmologist or optometrist. What I am offering today is evidence-based nutritional support, something that works alongside proper medical care, not instead of it. Let me explain what is actually happening inside your eyes while you sleep, because once you understand the mechanism, every fruit on this list will make complete sense. The retina is the thin layer of light-sensitive tissue at the back of your eye. It contains 2 types of specialized cells: rods, which handle low light and peripheral vision, and cones, which manage color and fine detail. Together, they are the most metabolically active tissue in the human body per unit of weight. They consume more oxygen than almost anything else inside you. And throughout every day of light exposure, screen time, UV radiation, and normal cellular activity, they accumulate oxidative damage at a significant rate. During sleep, specifically during the deep stages of sleep, retinal blood circulation increases and the body initiates what researchers call photoreceptor renewal, the systematic repair and replacement of damaged components in the rod and cone cells. This is not a passive process. It requires specific raw materials delivered through the bloodstream to the capillaries of the retina. Antioxidants to neutralize the oxidative damage that accumulated during the day. Carotenoids to rebuild the macular pigment, the protective yellow layer at the center of the retina. Compounds that support nitric oxide production to keep the tiny vessels feeding the retina open, flexible, and responsive. When those raw materials are present in adequate quantities, the repair cycle functions effectively. The cells renew. The pigment layer maintains its thickness and density. The capillaries stay supple. Vision is protected. When those materials are consistently absent, when the diet is poor in the specific compounds the retina requires, the damage accumulates faster than the repair cycle can address it. The photoreceptor cells thin, the macular pigment weakens, the capillaries stiffen, and the vision changes that should have been preventable become the new baseline. This is not theoretical. The relationship between specific dietary compounds and measurable retinal health outcomes has been documented in peer-reviewed human clinical trials. Changes in macular pigment optical density, improvements in visual acuity scores, reductions in nighttime visual disturbance. These are objective measurements in real people over 60 who made specific dietary choices and whose eyes were measured before and after. Here are the 7 fruits the evidence points toward most clearly. Fruit number 7, kiwi. 2 golden kiwis 1 hour before bed. The vision protective compounds in kiwi are lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 carotenoids that deposit directly in the macular pigment, the protective layer at the center of the retina that filters high-energy blue light and shields the photoreceptors beneath it from damage. Most people have heard of lutein in the context of eye supplements. What fewer people appreciate is that dietary lutein, consumed as food rather than as an isolated supplement, is absorbed and utilized significantly more efficiently in many individuals. The food matrix surrounding the lutein in whole fruit influences how the digestive system processes and delivers it to the bloodstream. And golden kiwi is among the most bioavailable dietary sources available for this reason. A study published in the Journal of Nutrition and Healthy Aging found that older adults consuming 2 golden kiwis daily experienced measurable improvements in visual sharpness and meaningfully reduced morning eye dryness and redness over the course of the study. These were not self-reported impressions, they were measured outcomes. Golden kiwi specifically, not green, for two reasons. The lutein content is meaningfully higher and the acidity is lower, which matters when you are eating close to bedtime and want to support sleep rather than disrupt it. One practical detail most people miss: the thin layer of flesh directly beneath the skin contains caffeic acid, a polyphenol antioxidant with independent retinal protective properties. Rather than peeling the kiwi, scoop the flesh with a spoon and leave that edge intact. You are capturing a compound most people discard without knowing it exists. Fruit number 6, wild blueberries. 1/3 of a cup, 45 minutes before bed. The active compounds in blueberries relevant to vision are anthocyanins, the pigments responsible for their deep blue-purple color, and specifically a compound called pterostilbene, which is structurally similar to resveratrol, but crosses the blood-retinal barrier more effectively, allowing it to act directly on the photoreceptor cells, where oxidative damage accumulates over decades. A 2023 study published in Nutritional Neuroscience found that older adults consuming wild blueberries daily for 12 weeks showed a 32% improvement in visual acuity compared to their own baseline measurements, along with significantly reduced reports of nighttime visual strain and difficulty with digital screens in low light. That is not a marginal improvement. That is the kind of result that changes clinical recommendations. The distinction between wild and cultivated blueberries is not marketing. Wild blueberries, the small, dark variety available in the frozen section of most grocery stores, contain nearly double the anthocyanin concentration of the larger cultivated berries grown commercially. They are also considerably less expensive. Frozen wild blueberries are equally effective as fresh because the freezing process does not degrade anthocyanin content. Two preparation details that matter. Do not combine blueberries with dairy in the same sitting. Milk proteins bind physically to anthocyanins and reduce their absorption by a clinically significant margin. And perform a light freeze-thaw cycle. Allow frozen blueberries to thaw naturally at room temperature before eating. This process breaks down the cell walls and increases the bioavailability of the compounds inside. Fruit number 5, watermelon. 1 to 2 cups of cubes 30 minutes before bed. Watermelon addresses two issues simultaneously that are both underappreciated in conversations about vision after 60: systemic hydration and lycopene delivery. Dry eye syndrome is among the most common and most debilitating visual complaints in adults over 60. Most people think of it as a surface problem, inadequate tear production at the eye itself. But systemic dehydration contributes meaningfully to the inflammatory environment that drives dry eye, and the conjunctival tissue lining the inner eyelid is particularly sensitive to hydration status. Watermelon is over 90% water and delivers that hydration alongside active compounds rather than as empty fluid. The lycopene in watermelon is a carotenoid that concentrates in the lens and retinal tissue and provides antioxidant protection specifically relevant to cataract prevention and age-related macular changes. Observational studies consistently show that adults with higher circulating lycopene levels have lower rates of lens opacity and slower progression of early macular degeneration. Lycopene accumulates slowly in ocular tissue, which means consistent daily intake matters far more than occasional high doses. One critical note: do not add salt to your watermelon before bed. Sodium elevates intraocular pressure, the fluid pressure inside the eye, which is a primary risk factor for optic nerve damage and glaucoma progression. This is a habit many people have developed without realizing its relevance to eye health. The white rind near the skin, which almost everyone discards, contains citrulline, an amino acid that the body converts to arginine, which in turn supports nitric oxide production and healthy blood vessel function throughout the body, including the retinal vasculature. Blend the rind into a smoothie to capture this compound without wasting it. Fruit number 4, dragon fruit, half of a red-fleshed variety, 1 hour before bed. This must be the red-fleshed variety. The white-fleshed dragon fruit is a different product with a substantially different nutritional profile. The benefit here lies specifically in beta-cyanins, rare antioxidant pigments found in meaningful concentrations almost nowhere else in the standard diet, which support nitric oxide production in vascular tissue. In the context of retinal health, nitric oxide matters because the capillaries supplying the retina are among the smallest, most delicate, and most pressure-sensitive blood vessels in the human body. As these capillaries stiffen with age and accumulated vascular damage, oxygen delivery and nutrient transfer to the photoreceptor cells during the overnight repair window decreases. The repair cycle operates with inadequate supply. Beta-cyanins that support nitric oxide-mediated vasodilation help keep those capillaries open, flexible, and responsive during precisely the hours when the retina needs them most. A 2022 study published in Frontiers in Aging Biology found that participants consuming red dragon fruit extract for 6 weeks demonstrated a 26% increase in measured ocular blood oxygen levels, alongside significant improvements in contrast sensitivity, the ability to distinguish objects against backgrounds of similar brightness, and in visual field depth in low light conditions. For adults whose primary complaint is difficulty seeing detail in dim environments, this is a directly relevant finding. The small black seeds embedded throughout the red flesh contain omega-3 fatty acids and magnesium, both of which contribute to retinal nerve health and the structural integrity of photoreceptor cell membranes. Chew them deliberately rather than swallowing whole. The seed coat must be broken for these compounds to be accessible to digestion. Fruit number 3, black currants. 50 milligrams of extract 1 hour before bed. You will not find fresh black currants in most grocery stores. For this one, look for the extract standardized to anthocyanin content. It is widely available in health food stores and online, and it is the form used in the clinical research. If your biggest vision concern right now is driving at night, the headlights that seem to explode into your field of view, the halos around streetlights, the way darkness has become something you navigate anxiously rather than move through naturally, this fruit is specifically for that problem. Blackcurrant anthocyanins regenerate rhodopsin, the exact visual pigment your rod cells use to perceive in low light. Rhodopsin is consumed by every photon that strikes a rod cell and must be continuously rebuilt for night vision to remain functional. When the rate of rhodopsin breakdown exceeds the rate of regeneration, which happens progressively as we age and which is accelerated by nutritional deficiencies, night vision deteriorates in a predictable and measurable way. Blackcurrant anthocyanins support the regeneration side of that equation directly. They also reduce microinflammation in the retinal vasculature and improve blood flow to the optic nerve, the cable that carries visual information from the retina to the brain. In a randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trial, 50 milligrams of blackcurrant anthocyanins daily for 24 months significantly improved blood flow to the optic nerve head and retinal vasculature and meaningfully slowed the rate of visual field deterioration in participants with early glaucomatous changes. 50 milligrams, 1 hour before bed. Pair with a small amount of healthy fat and something vitamin C rich, a slice of orange or a few strawberries to maximize absorption. Fruit number 2, goji berries. 2 tablespoons soaked in warm water 30 minutes before bed. Goji berries are one of the most concentrated dietary sources of zeaxanthin available anywhere in the food supply. Zeaxanthin is the carotenoid that concentrates specifically in the fovea, the absolute center of the macula, the small region of the retina responsible for the sharp, high-definition central vision you use to read fine print, recognize a face across a room, and see the details that make the world feel clear and present rather than approximate and dim. While lutein distributes broadly across the macular pigment, zeaxanthin concentrates at the very center, precisely where age-related macular degeneration does its most devastating work. For adults concerned about preserving the vision that allows them to remain independent, to drive, to read, to recognize their grandchildren's expressions, zeaxanthin at adequate levels in the foveal tissue is the most directly relevant protective factor available through diet. A 2021 study published in Nutrients followed adults aged 60 to 80 who consumed dried goji berries 5 days per week for 90 days. The results showed a significant and measurable increase in macular pigment optical density, a direct quantification of the protective layer's thickness and integrity, and not a single participant showed further progression of early macular changes during the study period. In a population where progression is the expected trajectory, that is a meaningful clinical finding. Soak 2 tablespoons of dried goji berries in warm water for 10 minutes before eating. Soaking rehydrates the tissue and makes the compounds more accessible to digestion, which matters particularly as digestive enzyme production declines with age. Pair with a small square of dark chocolate, 70% cacao or higher. The flavonoids in cacao have been shown to enhance zeaxanthin absorption, and the combination creates a genuinely pleasant evening habit that is easy to sustain. Fruit number 1, papaya. 1 cup of cubes, 1 hour before bed. Let me explain glycation. Because this is the process I mentioned at the beginning of this video, and it is the one that is most likely already affecting your vision right now, without your doctor having taken the time to explain it. Glycation is what happens when excess glucose in your bloodstream binds chemically to proteins throughout your body. It does not require diabetes. It does not require unusually high blood sugar. It requires only the normal age-related increase in blood glucose variability that occurs in the majority of adults over 60. The gradual reduction in insulin sensitivity that most people experience without ever receiving a formal diagnosis. When glucose binds to the structural proteins of your lens, it forms compounds that progressively cloud the clear tissue. This is one of the primary mechanisms driving cataract formation. When it binds to the proteins of the retinal extracellular matrix, it stiffens the tissue, impairs the flexibility of the capillaries, and reduces the efficiency of the photoreceptor renewal process that your eyes depend on every night. The process is silent. There is no pain, no acute symptom, no moment when you would know it is happening. There is only the gradual change in how you see, the slight cloudiness that develops over years, the contrast sensitivity that diminishes so slowly you adapt to it before you notice the loss. Papaya contains papain, a proteolytic enzyme that helps break down glycated protein complexes before they accumulate to structurally damaging levels. It also provides vitamins A, C, and E in a specific combination that supports the tear film, strengthens the retinal vasculature, and contributes the antioxidant environment required for effective overnight repair. A 2023 study in clinical gerontology found that older adults who consumed papaya regularly in the evening showed lower circulating levels of glycation markers, stronger tear production, and measurable improvements in contrast sensitivity, the ability to distinguish objects from backgrounds, within 6 weeks of beginning the habit. 2 practical details that significantly affect the outcome. Eat papaya at room temperature, not cold directly from the refrigerator. Papain loses meaningful enzymatic activity below approximately 50 degrees Fahrenheit, so remove the papaya from the fridge 30 to 60 minutes before eating, and add fresh lime juice before consuming it. The vitamin C in lime enhances vitamin A absorption through a well-documented biochemical mechanism, amplifying both compounds' effectiveness for retinal tissue protection. 5 rules that determine whether these compounds actually reach your eyes. The timing, preparation, and pairing of these fruits matters as much as the selection itself. Consuming them incorrectly can neutralize a significant portion of their benefit before they ever reach the retina. Eat them 60 to 90 minutes before bed. This timing places peak absorption precisely when the retinal repair cycle begins during early deep sleep. Too early and the nutrients are processed and partially cleared before the repair window opens. Too late, and digestion actively competes with the sleep quality your eyes need to complete the restoration process. Always pair with a small amount of healthy fat. Lutein, zeaxanthin, lycopene, and beta-carotene are fat-soluble compounds. They require fat present in the digestive tract at the same time to be properly absorbed and transported into circulation. A few walnuts, half a small avocado, or a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil alongside your fruit is sufficient. Research has shown this single adjustment can improve carotenoid absorption by more than 50%. Do not combine with dairy in the same sitting. The proteins in milk physically bind to anthocyanins and carotenoids during digestion and reduce their bioavailability measurably. Allow at least 90 minutes between any dairy consumption and your evening fruit. Bring produce to room temperature before eating. Cold suppresses the enzymatic activity in papaya specifically and may reduce digestive efficiency for other fruits as well. Remove refrigerated fruit 30 to 60 minutes before your intended eating time. Rinse gently rather than scrubbing. Many of the most active antioxidants in blueberries and black currants reside in the outermost skin layer. High-pressure washing removes a meaningful portion of them. Cool water, gentle handling, consumed immediately after rinsing. Your eyes are beginning their repair cycle tonight, every night. The only question is whether the compounds they need to do that work will be available when the process begins. Pick one fruit from this list, whichever one requires the least friction to add to your routine starting tonight. Not all 7 simultaneously, just one. Repeat it until it requires no conscious decision. Then add the next. If this video gave you something useful, a mechanism you understand now that you did not understand before, a specific fruit you are adding to your evening, share it today with someone whose vision concerns you. A parent, a spouse, a friend who has mentioned that driving at night has become something they avoid. Subscribe to this channel. Every video I publish here is built on the same principle: evidence-based, plainly explained, and oriented toward decisions you can act on tonight rather than waiting for a problem to become a crisis. Leave a comment telling me which of the 7 you are starting with. I read every one. I am Dr. James Harlow. Take care of your eyes. I will see you in the next video.